a cabal of secret societies has controlled the world for 200 plus years, and we get to be alive at a time to see it fall. I believe in the power of one person working as a team with other Christian patriots can have massive impact in reversing this ungodly culture. I believe that we have an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent God that has put his hand on this moment in time to deny the timeline of the enemy and is about to heal our land. This is Rick, your host, and I believe that God has called me to empower Christian patriots with truth. Join us now for the Blessed to Teach show, and let's see what God is doing today.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome, it's Rick B2T here. We're going to be empowering Christian patriots with truth the next hour or so as we dig into the whole crisis in Iran and everything that's going on. We're going to actually look at all the Q drops in light of today's news as well. Again, Iran next. Trump posts, keep protesting, help is on its way, MIGA, make Iran great again. Pretty crazy to see Trump, especially in light of how many people are being shot. Some reports are saying up to 13,000 people now have been shot, innocent, unarmed protesters. So this is pretty scary stuff, but we're going to be digging into that. So let's jump in right now. Again, this is some breaking news on just the scary part is Iran's regime. Mercenaries are just shooting everyone in the street very brutally. They've shut down the whole internet the last few days, and but some of these are starting to get out now. There are already 13,000 casualties as estimated. The world has to save them, and you can just see those guys are just shooting at unarmed people. And you see a senior Trump official. What is happening in Iran is a silent Holocaust. We must intervene. The Trump administration classified the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, I want to go here. Here's another video of just a bunch of body bags. More and more horrific videos and photos emerge from Iran. The size of the massacre is alarming. So quite a bit going on. That's scary here. I'm going to go over to here. I did want to. Before I get into the more detail on Iran and how that maps all the Q drops and all that, we are going to now dig into just an update that's so sad. Is that the creator of Dilbert, Scott Adams, a big part of this movement, has passed away. And that is a sad moment. A lot of us has followed his story. It's really sad. The 2026 Dilbert desktop calendar, double-sided, is now available only to Amazon USA. So just let you know, you can still get a Dilbert calendar. Wanted to make sure everybody knew that. Here's his final message. I thought I'd read this because it's got some things in there that I think we should contemplate. President Trump put out a message about this as well. You know, there is Scott Adams with Dilbert, with his Dilbert. Here he is with President Trump. That just went to the article. But this is Dilbert creator Scott Adams, who foretold Trump's rise and diagnosed America's political sickness, dead at 68 years old. 68. My mom passed away at 69. Just too young, guys. It's just a bummer to see him gone already. But you can see here he is with Donald Trump, and just a great man. Now, what I wanted to do is just talk about his last message to everyone. It was more of a message, and I thought that was just really striking, the first part of it, which is a good lesson for anybody, that we teach here: the right God, the right gospel, the right Jesus, right? The right God, the right Jesus, the right gospel. Critical to your salvation. And I'm praying that Scott gets there, right? And it says, if you are reading this, things did not go well for me. I have a few things I'd like to say before I go. My body failed before my brain. I am of sound mind as I write this in January 1st, 2026. If you wonder about any of my choices for my estate or anything else, please know that I am free of any coercion or inappropriate influences of any sort, I promise. So that's kind of a legal thing. Next, many of my Christian friends have asked me to find Jesus before I go. I am not a believer, but I have to admit the risk-reward calculation for doing so looks attractive. So here I go. So this is interesting. So he says he's not a believer, but he says, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I look forward to spending an eternity with him. So he wrote that out as a non-believer. Isn't that interesting? But I have to admit the risk-reward. So he says the part of me not being a believer should be quickly resolved if I wake up in heaven. So you can see the doubt there still. I won't need any more convincing than that, and I hope I am still qualified for entry. Without your permission, I'd like to explain something about my life. So now here he goes. With your permission, I'd like to, and so he goes into a lot about his life. But I wanted to really focus on this, guys, because this is important, right? If you want to guarantee your salvation, it has to be your words and your heart, right? Romans 10:9 is the most clear version of that. And you almost have to back up to the whole Romans road thing to really understand this, right? And that is that Romans 3:23 says, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So it's not about being a good person on works, the way you worked. It's all about faith. It's about the mercy of God. It's how we get to heaven. That's why Christ came and died for us, right? And that's why Romans 6:23 says, for the wages of sin is death. So for all have sinned and we fall short of the glory of God, and the wages of sin is death. Everybody's going to hell. That's what it says, because we're all sinful. But that's why he gave us his free gift. But the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. Then he goes to Romans 5:8, says, but God demonstrated his own love for us in this. He loves you so much that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. We were rejecting him. We rejected him completely because of our sinful nature. But he provided a way based on faith and grace, have nothing to do with what we do. It's not how many times we pray, how much money we give. It's none of that. It's Romans 10:9 seals the deal. It says, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. So you want to know how to be saved? It's make sure you believe it in your heart as well. So I just pray that when Scott made this announcement that he says, I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. As long as that's his head and heart, he's there, right? And so it's a little concerning that he's talking about not being a believer, because you have to believe in your heart, right? So just, again, if I confess with my mouth Jesus is Lord, and that's really important, right? Because you're saying that you're publicly, right? And then and that's what being baptized is all about. You're publicly proclaiming it, and then you say, so again, Romans 10:9, real important, just real simple. And Romans 10:10 goes on to that. But in fact, I'll just go look at it because this is important. This is why I started this is to counteract the fake news media, tell truth, and also the truth about this. So I just use Bible Gateway a lot of times, and you just type in Romans 8:10 and 9. So Romans 10, 9 through 10. I'm going to talk about both verses because they're important. So it says, because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. That's what I'm saying. You really shouldn't be saying I'm not a believer, because you have to believe that God raised him from the dead. That's the two parts, right? So we're gonna give Scott grace and pray that when he wrote that out, that Jesus is my Savior, that he was believing that as well. You will be saved. For with the heart one believes and justified. You can see that. You have to believe in your heart, and the justified is you're forgiven. And with the mouth one confesses and is saved. So important part. I know this is not the part where I actually do word and worship and teachings, all that. That's on a different channel. But I just wanted to make sure that we covered that part. And then he gives a whole detailed explanation of how, all the books he wrote and how they help people, and how some of them didn't do so well, but some of them did great. He's excited about that. And he talks about his podcasting on Coffee with Scott Adams, where he really did a lot of red pill and got into this patriot movement, and I just love that. He said, I had an amazing life. I have given it everything. I gave it everything I had. If you got any benefit from my work, I'm asking you to pay it forward as best you can. That is the legacy I want. Basically, let's all help each other make the world a better place, right? Be useful. That's what he. And please know I love you at the end, to the end, all to the end, Scott. And so that is a message he gave, and he there's a lot of people just putting a lot of his cartoons up and everything. It's really beautiful. There he was when he had lost his hair from all the treatments and everything. But he was a great patriot. He's gone, and it's so sad. There's some great things also. There he is with the Trump, and you can see Trump actually put this and said, "Sadly, so great influencer Scott Adams has passed away. He was a fantastic guy who liked and respected me when it was fashionable, when it wasn't fashionable to do so. He bravely fought a long battle against a terrible disease. My condolences go out to his family and all of his many friends and listeners. He will be truly missed. God bless you, Scott." And there's some, if you go to his actual feed here, you'll see a lot of his people posting about his beautiful cartoons and things. That Coffee with Scott, beautiful. He had some great Dilbert cartoons. I don't have enough time to go over them because we have so much to cover, because I want to dig in to this as well. But we'll miss you, Scott. Guys, we went over this yesterday. Again, this is really important because it's clear that the U.S. Department of Labor, if you aren't closely monitoring the U.S. Department of Labor account on X, you may want to start. It's no coincidence that these images and phrases are being used. These are direct comms from Trump. It's at US DOL, by the way. I haven't followed it, so I'll start following it. But you can search through here and see that they are putting tons of patriot content out. And they put a lot out there, but I'm going to go over some of the key ones here in a second, okay? And this guy hit me. He basically is talking about what I reported on yesterday, right? The whole trust the plan, patriots are in control, hold the line, all those phrases, right? Even America first comes from many of the Q drops. And he says, I'm not or have never been dedicated a QAnon follower. Just the fact that he's using that term shows that this guy, we separate those things. You have anons and you have Q. And the QAnon is what the media use to try to completely lie about us and give you guys false information. However, I followed enough alternative media truther accounts over the last 8-9 years. I did talk about Q posts to be fairly familiar with the movement, and he basically criticizes the whole movement. But he says, but when there were enough compelling posts from the original Q account that I've wondered, is it possible that there was white hat military government intelligence at its source? And then this week happened. These posts from the Department of Labor are 100% reference to Q. See, so even people that were skeptical are starting to get this now. If they had posted one of these phrases, I would have regarded it as a coincidence. They have become part of the public consciousness vernacular. But these 3 posts are not a coincidence. So either someone at the Department of Labor is trolling us hard, or they are referencing Q phrases in all seriousness. What that means, I can only guess, but the Department of Labor thread sure sounds a lot like Q these days. And this is where you see trust the plan, patriots in control, hold the line. And it wasn't just those 3 guys, it was more. Remember, there was another patriots control back on January 4th. And he also did America First. Not many people know that America First is part of the Q vernacular as well. Here's the other one that he missed here. It's trust the plan here. You had hold the line here. Again, all since January 4th. There's another patriots in control one there. And then you had this one here, America First. And just to show you, if you search America First on the Q drops, you'll see it all over the place. So you see it 4 times. See it right here. People are behind the America First agenda, right? Here you have he below words of America First, bellow words of America First. Here's another one, zero tariffs, U.S. to EU, America first. And you even see here where it's talking about this, it says America is back to leading, America first. So they're all over. Now that was a Trump message, but it clearly was another example. So when you see all four of those phrases plus America first coming from the Department of Labor, there's no question that this is confirming once again. Now, anybody that studied all the Q proofs and see all the zero deltas between Trump's account, which you'd have Dan Scavino giving a post on Trump's social account, and then he'd immediately go do it on the Q drops. Pretty much everybody knows that either Dan Scavino is coordinating with the Q team or he is part of the Q team. I think he's part of the Q team. And that's how he got the zero deltas, controlling Trump's account and the Q, boom, to count at the same time. That's what I think is happening here. Again, so you see America first. You see all these different things. It's hard to deny that trust the plan, hold the line, patriots in control, America first, all four of those phrases, all coming out at the same time with pictures of Trump. It's not just they're using the phrase. They have pictures of Trump on it because Trump's Q+, right? And so it was Trump's back channel, and it's a psychological operation, a military intelligence psychological operation against the deep state. That's why, after ignoring it for 2 years, the mainstream media and the cabal went all in on maligning it, telling you lies and lies and lies. And the biggest lie of all was that Q is part of the dark web. And that's just such a lie, because the dark web, you have to use special tools to get back there, and it's got all that pornography and illegal stuff going on, and you have to use these special tools to get into the dark web. This has been public from the beginning. 4chan and 8chan were not, and right now it's on hundreds of websites right now. And I use qag.news. That's what I was just showing you. Let's see if I can grab that right here. Yeah, here it is. So this is all qag.news. All publicly on the internet. It was just asking questions, and it wasn't predicting things. It was getting people to think, and it was doing psyops on the deep state the whole time. So that's what Q's about. Understand that. You guys are using terms like Q-tards and Q's a liar or Q had things wrong. Those are people that just don't understand the Q drops. You haven't read the Q drops and studied them if you think that, right? It's very clear it was a back channel from Trump, and it's very clear that the Q drops was and is a military operation to wake up us and a psyop against the deep state and Trump's back channel. And that is just a fact. And there's just way too much evidence. And again, even some of the skeptics are now going, okay, there is a military operation behind all this all. And that's why this will be military tribunals, etc. It's going to be a great time. Here, Trump doubles down on his red line, signals imminent action against Iranian regime. This is interesting because, and we need to be in prayer, guys, for these, like we just showed, with many, up to 15,000 people or 13,000 people being slaughtered, just mostly all in the last couple of days as they took the internet down. And here is Trump right here saying, Iranian patriots, keep protesting. Take over your institutions. Save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have canceled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way, MIGA. President Donald J. Trump. Okay. And so MIGA is Make Iran Great Again, which is beautiful. Yeah, I see a lot of people talking about gematria and other things, and we've got a lot of people. If I do have the ability, both on or all three things, Backstage Zoom, as well as on Rumble and YouTube, to post your comments. So go ahead and put some comments up there. I'll try to put some up right now. Here's I talked about. See if I can get Di's comment to come up. She says, my Nan passed away at 69, just a few weeks ahead of her 70th birthday. Yeah, that's why. So we're back where my mom was, and 68 for Scott Adams, the Dilbert creator. Sad. It does look like Amanda Grace We've been praying for Chris, and he didn't have to get on the ventilator, and this new drug's helping. So pray that he doesn't have to go on the ventilator and his brain spasm stop. That's Amanda Grace's husband, Chris. And that is Chris Wagner. That's her real last name. Thief on the cross went to paradise. Romans 10:9. We're talking about Romans 10:9, and we know that he was with Jesus at that point in time, wasn't he? Okay, and so let's see what this person's saying. I'm not saying I believe what I was told, just sharing it for anyone who wants to investigate further. I'm not sure exactly what that is related to, but anyway, pretty cool that you guys are commenting. I just want to give you kudos and let you know I'll put some of the comments up here that make sense. Don't dismiss the gematria either. And so I'll be honest with you, I just think there's just too many potentials of it that it is a really great communication method that the cabal uses, or we use, or that Q's using for us. There is some of that I do know, right? But I just found it spent way too much time consuming things and wasn't enough of a proof compared to other proofs I could use, such as all the zero deltas, such as just the 30 dates to exact minute of when McCain got killed, as an example. I mean, got all of a sudden died, which obviously he was probably put down. Really interesting stuff that the Q proofs. Here we are. Effective immediately, the country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25%. Any country doing business. So this is Trump using his tariff as a weapon again on any business being done with the United States of America. So if you want to sell anything in the United States, you're going to get taxed big time if you're doing anything with Iran. This order is final and conclusive. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And again, we just talked about this, just all these different videos coming up of showing body bag after body bag after body bag as these, and that's what Satan would do, right? That has a satanic rulers that have a huge hatred for every Israeli person. What they want to destroy Israel, and they spend all their money on arming terrorists to destroy Israel. That's their whole goal in life. And it's really sad. And we need to be praying, especially because there's a ton of Christians in Iran. And as the populace stands up, we need this, right? All right, let's continue here. We see here that this person said, hey, Dan Scavino, who we know gives signals all the time, because he's the one I was just talking about earlier that was doing Trump's social media, and we believe the Q drops with the zero deltas, right? All the proofs that we had, many of those. And we see Scavino's IG story. Freebird is in the background music. So they're playing Freebird and they show a bird. I'm stumped on this one, this guy says. And somebody answers him and says, when does a bird sing? When they are freed, strings cut. I ran next. So they're pointing to drop 888. It says, thank you, Kim. That's talking about, this is back in, again, this is quite a while ago. I think this was in 2018 or 2019, where it says, thank you, Kim. Deal made. Clowns out. Strings cut. Talking about Kim Jong-un, where they cut several of the generals and the cabal that had control over him. We had Google over there doing all kinds of things. They were purposely using him for evil as far as creating chaos in the world. And it says, we took control. Iran next. Q. So, wow. We had to wait a long time, 6-7 years, but it looks like this might be the Iran next time frame. That's happening right now. And that's maybe why Scavino put this bird that's singing, Freebird, with Freebird in the background on his Instagram, IG's Instagram, right? That's what they're talking about. And a free bird, and the free bird could be the strings are cut, and the strings are cut here points to here, obviously. Clowns out. That would mean that CIA had a big hand in doing in Iran what they're doing, because they always want conflict. They want Israel. They have the deep state / globalist within the Mossad and in Israel, as well as within these extreme Muslim areas, so that they can create conflict anytime they want. That's okay. Let's fire it up. Let's have conflict. And I believe they did that on October 7th, right? When the Israeli government, they used the infiltrators in the Israel government. I'm not talking about all of them, and in the military, in their Mossad to basically stand down for 6 or 7 hours and letting that horrible stuff happening. And so that, again, it doesn't mean that Netanyahu ordered that. It doesn't mean that there's not good people in Israel that know that's a problem and are calling it out and are fighting against their deep state, just like Trump is calling out our intelligence agencies and fighting against our intelligence agencies. That's an important difference, guys, is that it's like you don't call all of the United States bad because we have a bad rogue CIA. You basically fight for it. And so we need to help Israel fight against that's why Israel's last. That's the most entrenched cabal, globalists there that we need to get out. All right. This is another interesting. So now I'm going to go through some Q drops now that relates to today's news. Here's Trump's new post, a marker, acting president of Venezuela, incumbent January 20th. Q drop January 20th, Eisenhower. And so this is interesting. If you go back and you look at and what he's talking about is see if I can go back here. If it's not going to lose, hopefully it doesn't lose. Oh, it did. It lost it. Darn it. I hate it when it doesn't keep my, and it's not going to let me go back to it. That's a bum deal because that was a good one. I'll try to find it. Oh, there it is. Found it. Okay, good. But anyway, this is talking about this right here. There you go. Donald Trump, right there. And so this is a video. That's what it was in the video. I was looking for pictures. So here's the video, and you can see here, January 17th, 1961, President Eisenhower address was actually on January 20th, right? And so you see January 20th is when he assumed office, January 20th, 2025, but he's saying the acting president of Venezuela. So why wouldn't he put like the date that we attacked them, right? Why did he put January 20th when he took the office and assumed president in the United States in January 20th, 2025, when he actually says acting president of Venezuela? Interesting, isn't that? And so this whole thing brings that back to the Eisenhower speech on the 20th, right? January 20th, Eisenhower. I'm not sure how he got there. Let's listen.
Gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past.
It was posted by Q on January 20th. That's right. So that's why he's posting that. So if that's the case, if that was purposely done, and they put January 20th there to point to a Q drop, and with Eisenhower's speech, what does that say? Well, it says it's basically a storm warning. Storm warning. Here comes a storm, right? So I thought that was an interesting take on that one. Here's another one. Q drop. Trump just said 1913 is when tariffs were brought in. I think most of us know that. That's when the tariffs were kind of dropped, right? Because they put the IRS in let's not tax people that are buying from the United States. Let's tax the citizens. Good idea, says the globalist banking cartel, right? Of globalist international bankers, right? Trump currently addressing the Detroit Economic Club. So that's when he did that. So this person was just pointing to the fact that this Q drop talk pointed about 1913. Put an end to the endless, 1913. Really talking about put an end to the Fed, put an end to the IRS, right? This is a big part of it. So this whole drop is 4962. Says, who are the silent thieves? Why are they manipulating you? How are they stealing your wealth? Bubble, crash, steal, lie, repeat. That's exactly what they did. That's what they did in the Great Depression. That's what they did in 2008, most recently in our lives. They actually go, and this isn't just in the United States, it's worldwide is what they do. What is inflation? Monetary manipulation. Taxation without representation. Put an end to the endless, 1913, Q. So obviously Trump has been talking about 1913 lately and how that's when the tariffs, we switched from the external revenue service to an internal revenue service, right? So very, very insightful there. They saw that. Now here's a news article about Clinton's decline to testify in the congressional Epstein probe, Comer to pursue contempt charges. So this is starting to happen right now where you see the House Oversight Committee is now moving to hold former President Bill Clinton in contempt of Congress for failing to testify the Epstein investigation per James Comer. So we know that's happening. And then Susie Q is basically saying, hey, remember that Cash told us about the the inherent contempt of Congress, and there are cells under Capitol. Could this be the two arrests on the Q drops, Bill and Hillary? And so this just talks about Russia. This is where they're talking about all this stuff in this little bit. Let's
and I did this during my time at Russiagate. When you have a Department of Justice that you cannot rely on to fulfill a congressional subpoena and force people who violate it, Congress actually has this thing called inherent contempt of Congress powers, which means the Speaker of the House can send the Sergeant at Arms out and go and arrest anyone that defies a congressional subpoena. Wow. Now, if you want to see whether these Republicans actually have backbone, that's the law.
No, slow down.
They can
slow down. So we got 45 seconds. I've never heard that before. So you're trying to tell me Kevin McCarthy, let's say Fauci defies a subpoena.
Yeah. He can be arrested by the Sergeant at Arms at the direction of Kevin McCarthy and held in detention.
Where?
Well, there are jail cells at the bottom of the Capitol building. People don't know that, but they're there.
You're blowing my mind, Cash. All right, more with...
Jail cells at the bottom of the Capitol. Okay. And so now a lot of people are saying, hey, the first arrest was actually, Hugo as the first major arrest. Chavez from Venezuela, right? And it's like when we had 107 on, he was asked that question. He's saying, no, I think it's really talking about the major arrest within our political system in America, which would be probably Bill and Hillary would fit that most likely. So I think Susie Q's on target here. The first arrest will verify action and continue future direction. Again, this is repeated here. First arrest will verify action and continue future direction. They will fight, but you are ready. First indictment, unseal, will trigger a mass popular awakening, right? So again, I think that probably will be something to do with Russiagate, and most likely Bill and Hillary or one of the other will be that first arrest. Let me know what you think the first arrest is going to be. This will be interesting. Here's Q drop 523. And somebody else is pointing to some deltas now. Now we're moving to some deltas. January 23rd, 8-year delta, checkmate Q. Right? You'll see here that people just put in checkmate Q. That's all that 523 said. Right? And so are we moving toward that? Hope so. Q drop 52019. SEC test 11318. 11.3. We always talk about this 11.3. It points to a bunch of different potential things. One of them is a military code of sedition. I believe that's probably what it's talking about. So that was another delta that we can be looking for. We got this other scene. You and your families are safe. Promise. Q. That was another one that came out. An 8-year delta. Right? You and your families are safe. Promise. Q. And man, we need to pray that for Iran as well, right? Right now as this all happens. So another delta, it was dropped 525. They're talking about 710, targeted kills, power out, flight reroutes, flight returns, running, public awakening, message spread wide and far. Goodbye at Jack. So that is another Q post right there that was talking about recent here. There's another, just Digital Soldier does some good work. He's really teaching replacement theology, which I'm doing a whole 7-day series showing that replacement theology is not biblical for 100% sure. That's why it's a full 7-day series, so we can dig into the details of it. So I disagree with this guy in a big way on his theology, but he does a real good job looking at Q drops, right? So I just want to go over, he's got this little seven area Q drop I think it's worth looking at. It says, the operation is over. The patient lived. Friends, this is classic Trump comms. Remember when Trump posted that? And here it is right here. This is Trump's post. He said, the operation is over. The patient lived and is healing. Prognosis is that the patient will be far stronger, bigger, better, and more resilient than ever before. Make America great again. So this was back on he's talking about a post that was way back in April of 2025. And but he's coming off of that, and then basically that's that America was almost dead with Biden, and now it's coming off the operating table, right? It says, what if I told you this wasn't about a hospital? What if I told you Trump just gave you the post-op announcement that the silent war is now over? So this was back in April of 2025 when he's talking about this, but it kind of relates to some things that are happening today. It's why I wanted to come back to this. Oops, did it again on me. Here we go. And so he basically talks, because this is about the whole plan and about trust the plan, full control. So you'll see that the trust the plan, full control is a big part about this, where because they have control of the government and many parts of what I believe were military tribunals to infiltrate the infiltrators, we have all the information. We can basically take any key asset and either turn them or do a deal with them. I believe that's kind of what that is all about. And so I'm not going to have time to go over all this because these are relatively long when you get into it. But it comes down to, this wasn't a metaphor. This wasn't a diagnosis. The Republic was on life support. The patient lived. We survived the infiltration. Healing, power is returning to the people. Prognosis, stronger, bigger, better. Trust, just like Trump promised, promises made, promises kept. Q. And as you move through these 7 posts, you'll see buckle up, Anons. Stuff's about to hit. Stuff's about to get real. Let's reset this thing. Control, Fed, delete. Talk about the deletion of the Fed back even here in April. Says, you are watching a movie, but this movie is real-time history in the making. When we talk about, it's really important to understand, when we say we're watching a movie, does not mean you're not active, because this is an interactive movie. You're part of it, right? It's going to be part of this. It's almost like being on Survivor or something, right? You're watching a show, but if you're there, like Anna Kate was, right? Anna Kate might be coming on tomorrow night, by the way. So that is interesting times for you to. And by the way, she has a great offering and is a beautiful person. She has this whole healthy tech with an S, healthytext.com, healthytext.com. There's a link down below in the video. They're the sponsor of this. I just missed that earlier. But Anna Kate, who was a survivor now, beautiful woman of the Lord, has all these products. I actually personally used 2 of their water filters. They have a whole in-home water filter. They have one underneath the counter like I have, and one above the counter that adds hydrogen to it. I love their water products, but they have air products and tons of other stuff. It's all about living healthy. Healthytext.com. Make sure you go there. That's the sponsor of this video for today. All right, we talked about the rest and all these zero deltas. We're in the middle of talking about cash digital soldier. Here it is. My largest construction project, restoring Earth. Here we go. Q told us, seeing is believing. Sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You must show them. I really believe that was what God did. It wasn't. I don't think the Patriots ever thought of giving control back to the Joe Biden era and the cabal and let them do and you have to do with the continuity of government, which I believe that did happen, where they to make sure that they had Cheyenne Mountain and the major controls, and they had done a lot of the capitulation tour and was working with but that gave Trump 4 years of planning to just really, really take them, dent them in the last year. Look where we are now. We've all seen enough, which means the floodgates are about to open. This wasn't just another post by Trump. This was a coded battlefield update for those with eyes and ears to see. The operation is the plan. That comes back to trust the plan. I just want to emphasize that's not sitting down eating popcorn only. You're actually involved in it as well, but you're not anxious. You're not anxious at all. And so, because Patriots are in control, and you can move forward with helping with a digital soldier, helping with whatever God's called you to. But most people I know that were woken up by Q are extremely active in fighting this battle, calling out and exposing the mainstream media, etc. The patient is the Republic. The recovery is the Great Awakening. The cure, digital sovereignty, mass awakening, the construction restored. The storm didn't end. The storm just turned. Where we're not going back. We're heading straight to it. It's going to be biblical. Q. The hard part is coming to an end. The next phase will be justice. Q plus. Boom. And I believe that's exactly what's happening, is that it's going to be biblical, right? The epic story of good destruction, destroying evil, right? And that is exactly what this movement is about. And many people have come to Christ because of it. And I think Scott is probably one of them, right? That we just talked about at the beginning, Scott Adams, who just passed away at 68 years old. All right. Joe Rambo's putting this out. He goes, proof on top of proof on top of proof. Patriots in full control. It's a big part of what this whole movement's about, is that there's enough control, even though the cabal's got tons of power, there's enough control of key components that they're going to go down. It's just a matter of time. Yellow tie in the context of maritime flags. Yellow means Q. Putin wants to help. Drop 140. What if China, and this is the big part, drop 140. Q talks about, what if China, Russia, and others are coordinating with POTUS to eliminate the New World Order? So just think about that. Now, it's not. I don't think it's talking about the CCP, or it's not talking about the evil parts of Russia that want to destroy us. It's talking about because Russia's been fighting the deep state in big time in their ways, right? In their country, and others are coordinating with POTUS, like the whole capitulation tour. That's what this is all about. And the exact delta today, drop 1558. Free Iran. Fight, fight, fight. Regime change. People have the power. We stand with you. Q. There's enough coincidence in the world that this is happening. So he put a 3-minute video in here, and as he's kind of whole talking that all about, that has the yellow flag in there, that has some of the stuff. I just thought we'd go look at drop 1558. And again, this is a cool part of what I was talking about, qag.news. If you go there, it's where you see the drop number over here in the top right. I'll zoom in on that. See how it says drop number? You just put 1558 in there and hit enter, and it'll bring up that post. And so this is, again, a drop that was on 6/19/2018. So that was an older post, but it says, free Iran, fight, 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 regime change. People have the power. We stand with you, Q. And so, obviously, Obama did not support them through when they rebelled in the past. Prayerfully, this will be a different story now. So this, I'm just wanting to point to some of these other Iran drops, etc. It's real interesting. Here's Trump says, cash, better get them out. Trump orders cleanup of the corrupt FBI scum. So they basically learned that there were certain anti-Trump FBI agents that basically started Arctic Frost to spy on just almost everybody that's in the Trump orbit in the House and Senate, completely violating the rights. And of course, the cabal doesn't really care about that. Trump is really mad, but Cash is basically saying, hey, and Trump found this today, is that Patel had already fired the guy, right? So Trump's retruthing that, okay, at least this guy's already been fired. So Patel fired corrupt FBI agent in the anti-Trump Arctic Frost inquiry who weaponized law enforcement quite a time back. An FBI supervisor who openly opposed Trump on social media played a crucial role in igniting the controversial Arctic Frost probe in 2022 relating to January 6th, with the Bureau of Special Agents pressing to add the former president as a formal subject of the investigation and circulating articles from liberal activists and left-wing news sources to make his case, according to the evidence recently turned over to Congress and published by the news. So this guy was basically completely Trump derangement syndrome dude, and he started the Arctic Frost using all these fake articles from the fake news to justify it, just like they tried to do all the fake narratives to start the Russia thing. Now they're doing Arctic Frost during the Biden administration. The December inflation report is here, and it's good news, guys. This just shows you the Lord seems to bless Trump on whatever he does. And when they say Trump is always right, or he's got the golden touch, etc., we just continue to see this. And so it's amazing to see what happens. Just in, brutal loss for the experts and Jerome Powell. After inflation comes in at just 2.7%, the tariffs did not cause massive inflation. This shows how wrong the Fed chair and Jerome Powell are. And that is just a beautiful thing to see here.
I think this shows how wrong Chairman Powell was back last May when he said at the Economic Club that tariff-induced inflation was going to be the Fed's big worry. And it turns out we don't have that. And the tariffs, meanwhile, have improved our fiscal situation. They have made us be more oriented to improving our domestic capabilities, manufacturing, and they've improved our trade balance.
Yeah.
All right. Now here's Donald Trump on this. He says, under my stewardship, the economy is booming. A manufacturing renaissance and soaring household incomes are powering GDP gains that have not been seen in decades, and we are undergoing a disinflationary boom. The private sector is growing by over 5% thanks to the most business investment we've ever seen, maybe in history, and inflation trends are looking good. All the smart money knows the hottest economy in the world is USA. Time to invest. Here you see just out great low inflation numbers for the USA. That means that Jerome Too Late Powell should cut interest rates, and then in all caps, meaningfully. Right? I believe the new. I don't think he's going to do it because they hate Trump. They're going to fight him. Trump derangement syndrome. It's purely political. You can go back and see the people that the globalists love. They support with low inflation, and the people that the Fed hates, like Trump, they don't. They take. I'm sorry, the low interest rates. They actually up the interest rates, right? And that's why they're not doing that for Trump, because they know that this economy really boom with that if they had lowered them. Thank you, Mr. Tariff, President DJT. Thank you, Mr. Tariff, he says. Mr. Tariff in all caps, right? So, again, this is before the Supreme Court. Trump continues to pound that is his major, that's how he's got to peace on many things. That's how he's allowing the trade deficit to go massively way down. That's how he's bringing in massive money to bring the deficit down, etc., and to be able to afford all the spending we're doing on our military. Democrat says sanctuary sheriff threatened her to kill pro-ICE bill. So basically what we're seeing here is that there's a sheriff here that's corrupt. North Carolina State Representative Carla Cunningham, a Charlotte Democrat with a well-established independent streak, has intensely pressured by her party to vote against the July 25th override of a Democratic Governor Josh Dean's veto legislation. She's now alleging that the sheriff of this Mecklenburg County attempted extortion when he suggested that she'd get hurt if she helped Republicans pass the bill. So all the sheriffs aren't good, obviously, right? And now you've got crazy people. Like here's a kid, that a left-wing TikTok user calls for more violence against ICE agents. I'm not gonna play it thing because because this kid's crazy. Well, maybe I'll play part of it.
Hey, so look, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I don't really care about the consequences anymore. I don't care. We need to kill these people. There's just an alternative. I don't care if you say, oh, I've got the crazy eyes, whatever. Yeah, I do feel crazy because we've had 3 people die in 72 hours, and we've had over almost 30 die in the last year to a group of quote unquote law enforcement.
Do you see what the left media does here? This is getting this guy to really want to kill people. That's what the Mockingbird media I've been fighting for 8 years is doing.
That is basically just buffed up mall cops, right? Who are gun triggering happy Proud Boys. Let's call them what they are. It's the Proud Boys. Why do you think we didn't hear about them?
If you really study the Proud Boys, guys, to me that's a pretty patriot organization. They may have had a few crazies in there, but what they want to do, they want to actually make America great again. But you can see they're maligned. They're right-wing extremists. They're all white supremacists. Total lies. This guy believes them all. This is he who controls the media controls the mind. That's why we've broken that out for almost everybody that listens to this show, and your friends and family are starting to wake up, right? But there's some family members, I'm sure you have them, or friends, that think like this guy because they're watching Rachel Maddow, they're watching Anderson Cooper, they're watching or they're reading the New York Times, or they're even reading the Wall Street Journal now, the Rhino magazine. And so this is the way they think.
Any of you heard about the Proud Boys all year? Suddenly no more Nazi marches? None of that shit? Right. There we go. They're Nazis. Peyton said it best. They're Nazis. And the only way to stop this shit, let's be honest, is going to be to get violent.
The only way to stop this is to get violent. Do you hear this guy? And guys, they use the term Nazi. And almost everybody that's on the side of the right and conservatives and most believers are pro-Israel, right? When Nazis were bad against Israel, this is just the opposite. They flipped it all around. The Nazi movement was a left-wing movement, right? It's a progressive movement. It's a satanic movement, right? It wasn't. They hated, and you can take. So the guy acting like a Nazi is this guy talking, correct? Right? He's the one saying we need to kill people, right? It's like, and he's labeling Nazis as anybody who basically believes in law enforcement and getting people out of our country that shouldn't be here.
We got to get violent, people. And I'm tired of denying it, and I'm tired of y'all being pussies about it. Grow up! We're not going to get through this holding hands. Peaceful protest only works if your enemy has a moral obligation to listen to it. They have none!
We have no moral obligation, right? That's why we can't do peaceful this guy's asking for anarchy, right? And this is what all the way back to all these different politicians that are calling for violence. Maxine Waters, all the way back when we were reporting on that 7-8 years ago, right? This is real clear left-wing rhetoric that's causing this.
You guys are sitting there holding up fucking signs and saying, oh, I'm mad at you. You're pathetic. Burn something.
Burn something. So you need to burn something and kill people. That's the solution. And see, you can see why we had to be so careful when you have the mainstream media and the cabal 4 a.m. talking points controlling people like this. When that happens, I'm going to kind of just bring his picture back up here so people can see. When that happens, he who controls the media controls the mind. That's how close we were to civil war. This is why Trump could not have done the Insurrection Act back in 2020 when he was completely obligated to do so. And he may have done it in secret, like the devolution people were talking. But as far as openly doing it, etc., we would have had a civil war in our hands, and there would have been guys like this with guns, with patriots with guns, and it would have been a big bloodbath because there was just too many people controlled by the media. Now there's less and less every week. Guys, we're winning. We're waking people up. Okay, so we need to be a little patient. I know people are going, there's 0 arrests for this and 0 arrests for this and 0 arrests for this. And that's, to me, you guys are being black pillars. My goodness. This is going to be, you have a court system that doesn't work because you have corrupt judges. Our civil courts aren't going to be able to clean this up. It's going to have to be military tribunals. Q's told us at the beginning, military is the only way. So relax. We'll start putting subpoenas out, all that type of stuff. It's just going to show you it doesn't work. We did some stuff against Comey, and that's all. And all these judges are invalidating things. They're doing that to show us that the civil courts aren't going to work, right? We have to go through every legal way of doing this to the point where we finally get to the point where enough people are awake to say, arrest these dudes. I don't care that the liberal judge is saying not to do it. We're going to have to move to military tribunals. All right. This is Tom Homan kind of coming back. She says she can bring the smoke. We'll bring the fire. Tom Homan claps back at sheriff who threatened ICE. So this is an ICE person. Border czar Tom Homan fired back at Democratic Philadelphia sheriff. So this is a Philadelphia sheriff versus the North Carolina sheriff that we were talking about earlier. Rochelle Bilal on Monday after she threatened immigration and the custom enforcement agents with arrest. Bilal made the threat during a Thursday news conference. You don't want that smoke because we will bring it to you. Homan responded on the Charlie Kirk show saying, she can bring the smoke, we'll bring the fire. And that ICE would not back down. And so this is Tom Homan. Let's listen.
She can bring the smoke, we'll bring the fire. I mean, bottom line is, her comments themselves speaks largely to her intelligence. So look, we're going to continue doing this job. I don't know who she is or why a law enforcement official who took a sworn oath to enforce the laws and protect her communities would not want to work with ICE, who are out there arresting the worst of the worst. We're taking public safety threats out of her jurisdiction and not just taking them off the street, take them out of the country. Because number one, they're here illegally. Number two, they committed a crime against U.S. citizens, some horrendous crimes. So like in Minneapolis, we looked at a number of the releases, a number of arrests we did in the last couple of weeks, and there's numerous people we arrested for child rape, child sodomy. We're making her community safer. So, you're welcome. So she can continue to attack, make all the threats she wants. I don't know what bringing smoke means, but we're going to continue to bring the fire to those people who are public safety threats and in the country illegally. We're coming for them. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to remove them and make that community safer. She can bring.
Yep. That just makes common sense. Isn't this an administration of common sense? That's the beautiful thing that we're seeing here. Here's Trump saying, Minnesota is Trump country. I won 78 of 87 counties. The election swung by corrupt counties around Minneapolis and St. Paul, represented by disgusting Ilhan Omar. Moronic Tim Walz has allowed Minnesota to become overrun by Somali fraudsters who steal from American taxpayers and take advantage of our generosity. Tim is completely incompetent, which is why he lost big time last year, and bowing out of the re-election is the only good decision he's ever made. I have instructed Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent to follow the money and put an end to this abuse once and for all, first in Minnesota and then all over the country. And they're going to be going after California. That is going to be a big battle. That is interesting. And so this is Trump just talking to this Minnesota. This is so important. It says, do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community in which there are thousands of already convicted murderers, drug dealers, and addicts, rapists, violent, released and escaped prisoners, dangerous people from foreign mental institutions and insane asylums, and other deadly criminals too dangerous to even mention? That's a big sentence there. All the patriots of ICE want to do is remove them from your neighborhood and send them back to the prisons and mental institutions from where they came from. Most in foreign countries who illegally entered the USA through Sleepy Joe Biden's horrible open borders policy. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite the weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Thousands of criminals were removed. Minnesota Democrats love the unrest that anarchists and professional agitators are causing because it gets the spotlight off that $19 billion that was stolen by really bad and deranged people. Then in all capitals, he says, "Fear not, great people of Minnesota. The day of reckoning and retribution is coming." Woo! Go, Trump, go. And so we talked about Dilbert creator Scott Adams dying at 68, guys. A real sad time for us. And wanted to move you guys to let you know that the Faith and Freedom TV, that's what this ministry is doing now. The Blaze to Teach is turned into a ministry. We do praise and prayer and word and worship 4 times a week on another channel that we moved over there because of the music. But we also are getting really good views on the Faith and Freedom TV channel, and it's on 7 different apps, right? You can get it on your TV, Roku, Fire TV, on your Apple TV, Android TV, as well as on your mobile apps, and then the web app. That's awesome, just at faithandfreedom.tv. But we also launched these live channels, 3 of these live channels on Rumble, so you can find them now. And so on this channel, Blessed to Teach Show, we've renamed it to Blessed to Teach / Faith and Freedom TV, and we have the 24/7 channel going right there. You can see Manda's joined that channel. So has Donna Clement Petruska. We got some documentaries by Dr. Artis and their Aegis team. We have Terry Tenpenny on the plan. We've got Lance Wall now. Just beautiful patriots and people have got about 25 shows, and we're onboarding 2 or 3 more in the next couple of weeks. It's just really on fire. So make sure you are following that. And what I'll do is I'm going to take this show right here, and as we wrap up today, I'm going to move you over to in what they call a raid. If you're on Rumble, it'll move you over there automatically. Those of you on YouTube, please go over there. Just find it on Rumble. I can't play it on YouTube. But literally what's getting massive views, like 9,000 to 10,000, sometimes more a day on Rumble. I put it on YouTube, it gets like 30. Okay, it's completely shadow banned. So If you really want the 7x24 channel, you need to find it on Rumble or on faithandfreedom.tv. It's down there right down in the middle of in the lower third. Faith with the N as in Nancy, freedom.tv. That's where you get the web app. But if you want to find it on Rumble, you just could search that same thing, Faith and Freedom TV on Rumble. And we'll put over there on our raid. You got to type in raid in the link, and we'll get you guys all over there. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining me today, and we're looking so forward to having you all just kind of as a background, put these 24-hour channels up. The one I'm sending you to now is the Faith and Freedom channel. There's also a Growing with Faith channel and a Biohackingville channel that has the Dr. Artists and the Dr. Tenpennies and so many other people. B-17 Bomber, John Richardson, so many great people. So excited about the talent we're bringing. God's told me to amplify the voices of those silenced by elite. So amplify the voices of those silenced by the elite media. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. And again, Amanda's over there right now. God bless you guys. And we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to be doing a teaching on the fallacies with the replacement theory and what God really has for Israel and how you separate the deep state of Israel from the actual land and the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's a word and worship after tomorrow's show. God bless you all. There's some great guests coming up with Brian Artist is going to be live. Larry Ballard's going to be live. We're rescheduling 107. It's going to be awesome. God bless you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.